But should we introduce ourselves?
Yes, that's a good way to start.
Right. Hi, I'm Robin Williams.
Not the actor.
Not the actor.
And I'm Micah Ganske. Not the actor either. So as long as Robin Williams, the actor, doesn't take up painting.
Yeah, well, he was dating like a 27-year-old painter for a while, which really, I was like, come on, Robin. Really? You're doing this to me?
So what are you working on now?
Well, I just finished a larger piece with multiple figures in it, which is something that I hadn't really done up to this point. So I'm, my space is bigger. I finally have enough room to do some work that was on a little larger scale. So that was exciting. And
Where were you working before?
I was in the studio in Soho, which was a really cool location, but I was sharing it with like 5 other people, and I didn't even have a wall. I didn't have a wall.
God.
I had an easel, and I had like I don't even know how many square feet it was. It was maybe like 100. I'm terrible at estimating that. It was and I just had an area. I didn't even have like walls. And now I'm kind of working on another piece. I kind of go back and forth between these 2 areas of work. So some are these like children and adolescents in environments and kind of interacting with their environment or engaging in a task, or usually kind of like mining an activity for meaning. And then I do sort of another series of work that's closer to like portraiture, where I usually will construct a costume or a hat or some article of clothing that tends to overwhelm the figure in some sense. And I think the 2 are connected a little bit. I mean, it's both about like sort of trying things on and like playing dress up and like role playing at like activities that.
But they're not self-portraits.
They're not technically, but they usually end up.
Literally.
No, not in any kind of strict sense. But I mean,
there's a lot of like figure painters who like do dress up and self-portrait paintings.
Yeah, no, they're not meant to be. They're meant to be like sort of imaginary subjects. Like I kind of want to keep them intentionally no one specific.
Right.
But they usually end up looking like composites of like me, a lot of them with my brother, which creeps them out. Even the girls sometimes look really better. Or
that's just because since he's your brother, you guys look a little bit alike.
Yeah,
and
totally.
You're just drawing yourself.
Exactly. And also, I mean, I grew up with him, and he's like the image of like boy, that's like most readily available.
How far apart are you in years?
He's like 3.5 years old.
Oh, okay. So like it was just like old enough that it was like
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like an adolescent when I was still a child.
Right.
It was a good age. We actually live together now. So maybe that may be another reason why it keeps popping up.
Sure.
So now I'm working on another one of these mirror portrait pieces. And I built, you can show image here, but I built like a beard piece.
A full head beard?
Yeah.
Nice.
I just used like a ski mask as the base and kind of built a bunch of stuff onto it.
Cool.
And photographed it, and then so I use the photographs as like anatomy and light reference and what's
When painters make props.
I find that it's good that I go back and forth, because sometimes I get really bored with just like lifting reference pictures and like just working with photography and like making stuff up, and like I think I need to mix it up with like actually making some things. So you're gonna do a series of these? How many
The number of the paintings is dependent on my source material, like for these towns. 3 or 4 more. I think 3. But I have like, but then there's like 3 or 4 towns that like I know of that have been recently abandoned that I want to do, but like they're in the middle of nowhere. I got the images from Big Maps, and because they have like the bird's eye view, and the only reason why like I was able to get like, for instance, like this small town in Pennsylvania called Centralia, I think it's because it's on the East Coast, and it was close to like an area that we're mapping anyways. But I don't think under normal circumstances like they would even like bother.
I think. Do you think of yourself as a photographer?
Well, I definitely don't think of myself as like a traditional painter. I mean, like I don't use thick paint. I don't care about like the tradition of like oil painting. Like, and I don't go into the studio and like sort of like battle it out with like the composition and figure it out. So yeah, I don't do anything like the romantic like painter is supposed to do. So, but I really love process, you know. But like again, it's like my own like idiosyncratic like weird process, so it doesn't really count towards painting. In a lot of people's eyes.
Would you ever exhibit your photographs?
Well, maybe not like the actual. I don't think I would ever exhibit straight photographs. Like when I do finally have a show with like this body work, it'll be half or like 3/4 painting and then filled out by like some Photoshop collages that are based on the same imagery. So yeah, now that I'm with this new gallery, they're like really supportive about like all these exciting things that I want to do. So
That's awesome.
they're awesome. RH gallery is awesome. RH gallery. It's a little one. RH gallery gonna pop up on the screen.
So you guys talked about the show or when that date or anything like that?
Yeah, everybody wants my show to be like this time next year. We'll see.
Yeah. You think you're gonna need more time?
Maybe, maybe not, because like the piece I just finished is way more complicated than any of the other pieces.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
It was really intricate. Did you project that onto it?
Yeah, the projection and the Photoshop pilot got the general like shape of the streets right, and then maybe the buildings would kind of be like at this weird wobbly perspective angle. So then but that at least that was enough to I knew kind of where the buildings were, the streets were all in the right spot. That's the reason why the drawing part took so much longer than I thought it would. I mean, I don't know if you have this problem, but I have horrible. Every time I do anything new, I underestimate the time it's gonna take.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I can't think of a time when it was really frustrating.
Well, then you're a good figure.
I mean, but I used to do a lot more commercial illustration. That was a lot more I don't really do it anymore. Here and there I will, but so there were there were paintings that were not, and I'm an oil painter, so which didn't really lend itself to commercial illustration because the deadlines were quick. You have to turn around, and there were definitely times when paint wasn't dry. Leave lamps sitting over them.
And they would want the actual paint. They would have the pieces.
Yeah.
They didn't trust you to photograph it or something.
No, it's not. I think I almost set one on fire once. It started to get a little dark in the middle.
Oh my god.
And then, all kinds of toxic varnishes that you can spray over wet oil paint that will dry it, but also be cancer.
So what do you have any shows coming up or
Well, my gallery in PPOW is going down to Miami. And they're gonna bring some of my work.
Cool.
And I'm going down. I skipped last year. I went 2 years ago. Didn't go last year because the crew was so terrible. And so I'm excited to go back. I think they've got something worked out that's a little out of the box. And then we're talking about a show, probably either late winter or early spring. So
okay.
yeah.
That's great.
And I kind of got most of the work already sort of done, or at least things that I can consider putting in. So from here on out, it's going to be kind of just making work and then curating it, figuring out what I really want.
She's also very painterly on you.
Yes, you don't work like that at all.
I don't work like that at all.
Concept, you see it through to the end.
It's I have exactly 3 pieces.
Yeah.
I don't have any ideas.
Well, and that's what I asked you about, because I think for me, if I had a concept that was that set in stone, I might lose interest in it, in the middle, and then have to carry it out and feel like I didn't want to, So my work's actually been conceptually kind of consistent. It's not gone off into some totally random tangent, but maybe I just don't have the, it's just more instinctual. Like, capacity to like stick to the concept.
I'm also kind of a masochist, like with that kind of stuff. Like, it's like I think video games did it to me.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like those old Nintendo games were just brutally difficult for no reason. Actually, I beat Ghosts and Goblins, which is like known to be like one of the hardest games of all time. And then like when you get to the end and you save the princess, like
always save the princess. That was always the.
It was just easier that way. It was a better time. Right? Yeah. Things were black and white.
You just save the princess in the game.
In the beginning of the game, this red devil like flies in and takes the princess away. So then like at the end of the game, you kill the red devil, you save the princess, and then the credits roll, and at the end of the credits, another red devil flies in and takes the princess, and then the game is like, good job! Why don't you try it again? And then like it just starts back from the beginning, and I was like,
yeah. And then you proceeded to make art.
Yeah, and then I proceeded to make art in the same fashion. Like so, I don't know if it's healthy, but it's satisfying.
Yeah.
It's also probably like a nightmare for like a gallery to like go with. They're like, oh, how do we price something that took 6 months?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like is that part of like your consciousness when you're making stuff? Like, do you think about like how you're gonna price it, how it's gonna be marketable? Or
No.
just trying to put that aside to it?
I was thinking about that for a little while, and then like when the reception hit, like I tried making like some smaller works, and I was like, I don't like this.
I know, right?
I'm not going to worry about this. Like sales be damned.
Yeah.
It's like I'm gonna make a 14-foot painting in the middle of this reception, and who cares?
Yeah. I'm just like, I was getting from the gallery that I was with before, I felt like I was getting a little bit of pressure from that. I mean, I wasn't overt, but I mean, they're definitely like, why don't you do some stuff? It's like at a more affordable scale. And be able to move it, keep you afloat, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, really not moved to do that. And it's only like recently when I kind of don't feel that kind of pressure, that now I'm wanting to do kind of smaller stuff. But not smaller stuff to even sell, but like I want to, and I've also got this big space now, so I want to like have a bunch of like smaller pieces going that I can like experiment on and like do some stuff that I wouldn't normally do. I find that like small stuff is good for that, but I don't typically like I don't get excited about like, a big idea on a small canvas.
Do you have any like ritual when you like set up meeting off? Like you talk to it?
No, I'm like get it out of here. Sometimes I usually forget to sign them, to be honest. Like,
I never signed that.
I will never sign something on the front of my painting. I did that once in college, but it was like one of the first paintings I ever sold. It was in a student show and somebody liked it and wanted to buy it.
They wanted the signature.
No, they were like, you haven't signed it, we should sign it. And actually, it was a small painting and I brought it to a coffee shop where I met him and he was like, no, it's not signed, we have to buy it. It was like raining, and I was like, well, you go back to my studio. I'm not going to sign it in a marker. He like handed me like a permanent marker. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like that.
Yeah, the signature on the front.
For me, I can't do it.
I mean, no one does that anymore.
Yeah, it's all
only like art students like, put their fat John hand right on the like, painting itself. Like.
Totally. So I usually just sign the back, just like in block letters, like the title and the date.
I always forget.
I always forget to do that, and people are like, "No, you forget to sign it, please." But it's like that's not like I don't think about it as much like, oh, an accomplishment is done.
Well, no, you know what it is? It's mine. I already peed on it.
Exactly. It doesn't feel like I have to like brand it. Yeah. Someday when I'm incredibly famous.
Someone's gonna come back and have to sign everything.
Yeah.
What's a good like final? Like, what would be a good final?
I thought you were thinking of some kind of dance.
Oh no, I wouldn't do that. I could go that inside.
We could do that inside. We just have to sign off. Be like, well, this was a lovely adventure. But what it's called, Artists for Artists.
I think we just did.